My girlfriend said, "You need to quit your band. It's embarrassing watching you chase a dead dream at 29. I've just been offered an opening slot for a major tour." I said, "You're probably right." Then I accepted the tour, quit my day job, and blocked her number. When my first show sold out and made Billboard news. Original post. I, 29 male, play bass and do backup vocals in an indie rock band. We've been together for 7 years. Same 4 guys since freshman year of college. We're not famous. We play local venues, the occasional regional festival, and we've built a decent following online over the years. Our Spotify has about 180,000 monthly listeners, which sounds impressive until you realize that translates to maybe $400 per month split 4 ways after the streaming services take their cut. We all have day jobs. Mine is IT support at a mid-sized accounting firm. Password resets, printer jams, convincing executives that clicking suspicious links is bad. It pays the bills. My girlfriend and I were together for 2 years. Met her at a mutual friend's birthday party, hit it off immediately, moved in together after about 8 months. She works in pharmaceutical sales, makes solid money, drives a leased Audi that she's very proud of, and has this extremely detailed 5-year plan involving marriage by 30, house in the suburbs by 31, first kid by 32. She's got spreadsheets. Actual spreadsheets. When we first started dating, she was my biggest fan. Front row at every show, filming videos for her Instagram stories, telling all her coworkers about her talented musician boyfriend. She'd help us load equipment, hang out at rehearsals, even design some of our merch graphics. That version of her disappeared around 8 months ago. It started with little comments. "Don't you think you're getting a little old for this?" When I turned 29, she made a joke about how most rock stars make it by 27 or give up, except it wasn't really a joke. Then came the bigger comments. My coworkers asked what you do, and I had to explain the band thing, and it was honestly kind of humiliating. Then the ultimatums crept in. "If you're serious about us, about a future, you need to start acting like an adult with an adult career path." I kept playing. The band kept grinding. We released an EP last fall that did better than anything we'd put out before. Got picked up by a few Spotify editorial playlists. Got coverage on some indie music blogs. Even got a small write-up in an online music magazine that called us refreshingly authentic. Nothing that would make us rich, but momentum. Finally, actual momentum. 3 weeks ago, our manager called with news that made my hands physically shake. A major touring act. I'm not going to say who, but if you follow rock music even casually, you know them. Had their opening band drop out 6 weeks before their summer tour. The official reason was creative differences. The real reason, according to our manager, was that the opening band's lead singer punched their drummer backstage during a show, and the headliner's management decided they didn't want that energy on tour. They needed a replacement. They'd heard our EP through some industry connection. They wanted us. The deal, $1,500 per show guarantee, plus a percentage of our own merch sales. 28 cities over 3 months. That's $42,000 guaranteed, split 4 ways, plus merch revenue that our manager estimated could be another $25,000 to $35,000 total based on the venues and crowd sizes. Is that enough to retire on? No, but it's enough to prove something. It's enough to say, this is real now. I came home that night feeling like I was floating 6 inches off the ground. My girlfriend was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, glass of wine on the coffee table. She barely looked up when I walked in. "Hey, so I got some news today. Can it wait? I'm trying to figure out this seating chart situation for my sister's wedding. Her future mother-in-law is being absolutely impossible about table assignments. It's kind of big news." She sighed. Not a regular sigh. One of those theatrical ones that lets you know your existence is currently an inconvenience. "Fine. What is it?" I told her everything. The drop band, the opportunity, the tour dates, the money, what this could mean for our career. I was talking fast, excited, probably gesturing too much. And while I talked, I watched her expression shift. Confusion first, then slow dawning understanding, then something that looked a lot like disgust. When I finished, she was quiet for about 10 seconds. I thought maybe she was processing, figuring out how to be supportive even if she had concerns. You're not actually considering this. I mean, I am. We all are. This is huge. For US? You mean for your little band? What about actual us? What about our relationship? What about the house we were supposed to look at next month? What about my sister's wedding in July? The tour starts June 5th, ends late August. We can look at houses when I get back. Your sister's wedding is July 15th. I already checked the schedule. There's a 4-day break that week. I can fly back, be there for the whole wedding weekend, fly back out. Oh, so you've already planned all this out, without discussing it with me. Your partner of 2 years. I literally just found out 4 hours ago. I came home to tell you immediately. She stood up from the couch, crossed her arms, and then she said the words I'm never going to forget. You need to quit your band. I'm serious. It's embarrassing watching you chase a dead dream at 29. You're almost 30 years old, and you're still playing in bars like some college kid who hasn't grown up. My dad was a regional manager by your age. My brother just made partner at his firm. And you want to spend 3 months crammed in a van with your friends playing dress-up in front of strangers? It's pathetic. I just stared at her. You're probably right, I said. She nodded, visibly relaxing. Thank you. Finally. I know that wasn't easy to hear, but after I pack. Pack for what? The tour. I'm accepting the offer. Her face did this incredible thing where it cycled through about 6 emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, realization, anger, disbelief, more anger. You just said I was right. I said you're probably right. And you probably are. There's probably a 90% chance this tour leads nowhere and I come back in 3 months having missed stuff and we break up anyway. But there's a 10% chance this is the opportunity that changes everything. And I've spent 7 years, building toward that 10%. I'm not walking away from it because you're embarrassed. If you leave, we're done. Yeah, I figured. I walked past her to our bedroom and grabbed my duffel bag from the closet. Started packing clothes. She followed me, volume increasing with each sentence. You're choosing a band over me, over our future, over everything we've built. I'm choosing myself over someone who thinks my passion is pathetic. I didn't mean. I was just being honest. You called watching me play music embarrassing. You compare me unfavorably to your dad and your brother. You called it dress up. That's not honesty. That's contempt. She tried a different approach then. The tears came. The apologies started flowing. She didn't mean it like that. She was stressed about her sister's wedding. She'd been drinking wine, and her words came out wrong. Could we please just sit down and talk about this like adults? I finished packing my bag, grabbed my bass case from its spot in the corner, and headed for the door. I'll text you next week to arrange picking up the rest of my stuff. I'll make sure it's when you're not home, so we don't have to make this awkward. You're really doing this. You're really throwing away 2 years for this. You're the one who issued the ultimatum. I'm just taking you seriously. You're going to regret this so much. You're going to be back in 3 months with no girlfriend, no house, nothing to show for it, and your little tour will be a footnote that nobody except you and your 3 sad friends will remember. Maybe, but I'll know I tried. I walked out, spent that night at our drummer's apartment, sleeping on his couch, explaining the situation between shots of cheap whiskey. Called our manager the next morning, voice still hoarse, and formally accepted the tour on behalf of all 4 of us. Then I did something I've been advised not to do by basically every breakup advice column ever. I blocked my ex on everything. Phone, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. Complete digital scorched earth. 2 days later, I walked in my IT job and gave my 2 weeks notice. My manager looked at me like I just told him I was joining a pyramid scheme. You're quitting for a band tour? Yes. At your age? Yes. Good luck with that, I guess. 2 weeks later, I was in a 15-passenger van with my 3 best friends, heading to the first city of the tour, watching the skyline of my regular life disappear in the rearview mirror. Update 1, 5 weeks in a tour. Writing this from a hotel room somewhere in the Midwest. I've lost track of which city. They blur together after a while, but I needed to get some of this out. The good news. The tour is going better than any of us dare to hope. The headlining band's fan base has been incredibly receptive to us. We're not just background noise while people buy drinks. They're actually watching, listening, getting into it. Our merch table sells out, at about half the shows now. We went from 180K monthly Spotify listeners to over 420K and climbing. College radio stations are playing our EP. A music blog with actual readership called us the best-kept secret of the summer tour circuit. 4 nights ago, we played a venue that holds 3,200 people. We opened our set with our most popular song, the one with the chorus that's really fun to sing along to, and I watched a third of that crowd singing the words back to us. Not mumbling, actually singing. Words I wrote in my apartment at 2 a.m. after my first divorce from reality. I had to turn away from the crowd for a second because my eyes started getting wet. 7 years. 7 years of playing to rooms of 50 people who were mostly there for the cheap drinks, and now strangers, hundreds of strangers, knew our lyrics. Our guitarist looked over me mid-song and just grinned. He knew. Okay, now the mess. My ex apparently did not take the blocking well. From what I've pieced together through mutual friends, she tried calling me for 3 solid days before realizing I'd blocked her number. Then she started working through our social circles. Called our drummer. He didn't answer. Called our guitarist. He told her I was busy and hung up. Called our singer's wife, who is genuinely one of the nicest people I know, and got an earful about respecting boundaries. Our singer's wife told her, "He's doing amazing, you should be happy for him, and you should probably leave him alone." That did not go over well. What happened next? I only know because a mutual friend, we'll call her our drummer's college roommate, sent me screenshots. My ex posted this long, winding Instagram story about how her ex-boyfriend abandoned her to chase a delusion, and how she was healing from narcissistic abuse and learning to recognize when someone shows you who they really are. She didn't name me directly. She didn't have to. The timing made it obvious to anyone who knew us. The comments were brutal. Not brutal to her, brutal about me. Supportive women calling me trash, calling me a man-child, telling her she dodged a bullet, praising her strength. A whole echo chamber of validation. But here's the thing. The mutual friend who sent me those screenshots, she'd driven 4 hours with her husband to see us perform at one of our tour stops. She'd been following our journey. When she tried to comment on my ex's post saying, "Actually, I just saw him perform, and he seems really happy and successful," my ex deleted the comment and blocked her. This woman had been at our engagement party. 2 years of friendship. Deleted and blocked for stating an observable fact. The entitlement got worse. 2 weeks into the tour, I received a LinkedIn message from my ex's mother. I swear I'm not making this up. Her message, verbatim, "I always knew you weren't good enough for my daughter, and I'm relieved she's finally seeing it too. She's already found someone more appropriate for her station. Enjoy your little midlife crisis." I'm 29. A midlife crisis at 29 would require me to die at 58. But math has never been her strong suit. Does someone more appropriate turn out to be real, though? My ex started dating a coworker about 2 weeks after I left, a territory manager at her pharmaceutical company. He apparently drives a BMW, wears expensive suits, and has very strong opinions about wine regions. Perfect for her 5-year plan. They've been posting couple photos constantly. Weekend getaways. Fancy dinners. Captions about finally finding someone who has his life together. Honestly, good for her. She found someone who fits the spreadsheet. That's not sarcasm. I genuinely hope she's happy. I just wish she'd stop trying to rewrite our relationship history to make me the villain. The latest escalation happened 3 days ago. A text came through from an unknown number. "Hey, it's me. New number. I think I was too harsh, and I owe you an apology. Can we talk? Call me." I didn't respond. An hour later. "Seriously? You're ignoring me now? After 2 years together? After everything?" Didn't respond. Then, fine. Whatever. My new boyfriend thinks your band is generic anyway. He's in finance. He went to good school. He has a real future. I showed that text thread to our drummer. We laughed about it for probably 10 minutes straight. Our guitarist suggested we call our next EP generic and futureless as a joke. We're probably not going to do that. Probably. Next week, we're playing the biggest venue of the entire tour, a historic theater that holds just over 5,000 people. It sold out in 72 hours. Sold. Out. More updates coming. Update 2, 3 weeks later. The big show happened. I need to tell you everything. But first, what happened in the days leading up to it, because context matters. The show got media attention because of how fast it sold out. Local news stations ran segments. Music websites wrote preview pieces. And then, this is where my brain stopped functioning for about 20 minutes. Billboard published a feature about breakout opening acts on this summer's tour circuit. We were mentioned by name. They called us an authentic grassroots success story and proof that independent rock still has a pulse. Billboard. The actual Billboard. I called my mom. She cried for 15 minutes straight. My dad, who has literally never told me he's proud of me without qualifying it somehow, texted me, saw the article. Guess you showed them. From him, that's basically a standing ovation and confetti. But apparently the press coverage also reached my ex because that's when things got significantly more complicated. 2 days before the big show, I got an email to my personal account. She'd found it somewhere, probably remembered it from when we were together. For paragraphs. The summary. She'd made a mistake. She'd been closed-minded about creative careers. Her new boyfriend was nice, but boring, and they'd broken up. She'd been doing a lot of thinking. Could she maybe fly out to see me at the big show? She'd buy her own ticket. She just wanted to see me perform for old time's sake. No expectations. I didn't respond. 3 hours later, a follow-up email. I know you're seeing these. Your read receipts are on. They're not. I turned off read receipts years ago, but I still didn't engage. Then a third email. Fine. I'm just going to buy a ticket anyway. I'll see you there. We should talk. I showed the email chain to our manager. He laughed and said not to worry about it. If she caused any kind of scene, security would handle it. He dealt with much worse. The night of the show, I was more nervous than I'd been since our very first gig in a basement 7 years ago. 5,000 people. Actual media. Real stakes. This was either going to be the night we proved we belonged, or the night we revealed ourselves as imposters who got lucky. We took the stage, and time genuinely seemed to slow down. The lights were blinding. The crowd was a sea of faces stretching back into darkness. And where a drummer counted us in and we hit our first chord, 5,000 people cheered. Not polite acknowledgement. Not, okay, let's get through the opener. Actual cheering. For us. We played our hearts out. Every song felt bigger, louder, more alive than it ever had. During our biggest track, I looked out at the crowd and saw them moving together, jumping, dancing, singing. A third of them knew every word. After 7 years of basement shows and half-empty bars, thousands of strangers were singing lyrics I'd written on my apartment floor. I spotted her midway through the set. Third row, slightly off-center. She was watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not angry, not happy. Just observing. I made brief eye contact, then looked away. Focused on the music. Focused on my bandmates. Focused on the moment. We finished our set to the loudest applause we'd ever received. 5,000 people showing genuine appreciation, not just patience. Backstage, I actually cried. Our guitarist bear hugged me so hard he cracked my back. Our singer kept repeating, "We did it," over and over like a mantra. The headliner's manager came to our green room afterward, shook all our hands, said he'd been watching from the wings and that we'd more than justified the booking. Then, almost casually, he mentioned that his label had been keeping tabs on us. They wanted to set up a meeting after the tour wrapped. A record label meeting. A real one. I should have been purely ecstatic. But I knew there was still one conversation waiting. After the show, I was outside the venue helping load our gear into the van when she found me. She'd waited by the stage door. Of course she had. "Hey." I kept coiling a cable. "Hey, that was really good. That was actually incredible. You guys have gotten so much better. Thanks. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew you were good, but I didn't realize you were this." I finally stopped and looked at her directly. She looked tired, like she'd been crying recently. The confident pharmaceutical sales rep was gone. She just looked small and uncertain. Part of me felt genuinely bad for her. The part that remembered the good, early days, the way she used to look at me like I was something special. But then I remembered her face when she said, "dead dream." The contempt. The dismissal. The way she made me feel like a child playing pretend. "I appreciate you coming," I said. "I do, but I'm not really sure what you want here. I made a mistake. A huge one. I've had time to think, and I was so focused on what I thought life was supposed to look like that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. I was pushing you away from something you loved because it didn't fit my plan. Yeah, you were. So, can we try again? I've changed. I've been doing a lot of reflecting. I know I was wrong. I set down the cable. Took a breath. No. Why not? I'm apologizing. I'm admitting I was wrong. What else do you want? I want you to understand something. You only want me back now. Right now. When Billboard is writing about us. When shows are selling out. When there's proof I wasn't wasting my time. You didn't want me 8 months ago when I was still playing to 50 people. You were embarrassed by that version of me. That was the version that did all the work to get here. I was scared. You were condescending. You called it pathetic. You compared me to your dad and your brother like I was some kind of failure for not being in management. That wasn't fear. That was contempt. People change. Some do. Some just change what they want when the circumstances change. I'm not interested in being someone's backup plan after the finance guy didn't work out. She stood there for a long moment. I thought she might yell, or cry, or do something dramatic. Instead, she just nodded slowly. I really messed this up, didn't I? Yeah, you did. She turned and walked toward the parking lot. No screaming. No dramatic final words. Just footsteps fading into the night. I went back to loading gear. Our drummer came out 5 minutes later, took one look at my face, and silently started helping. Update 3. Tour end plus 2 weeks. Last update. Promise. Tour wrapped 12 days ago. Final stats for anyone curious. 28 shows, combined audience of approximately 87,000 people. Total merch revenue, just over $38,000. Spotify monthly listeners peaked at 530,000 and settled around 485,000. We're not wealthy, but we're no longer playing for beer money. The meeting with the record label happened 5 days after the tour ended. They flew all 4 of us out, sat us in a conference room with bottled water and a fruit spread, and spent 2 hours discussing our trajectory and brand identity and market positioning. Corporate speak for, we think you might be worth investing in. The offer, a 2-album deal with distribution support, marketing assistance, and an advance large enough that none of us need to immediately find day jobs. Not retire forever money, but enough runway to see if this actually works. We signed 3 days ago. I have a record deal now. That's a sentence I can say out loud. My old IT job filled my position 2 weeks after I left. Some recent grad is probably fielding the same password reset requests I used to handle. I genuinely don't miss it. Now, the X situation. About a week after our parking lot conversation, I heard through the grapevine that she'd gotten back together with the finance guy, then broken up, then started dating someone else from her company, a different coworker. Then that ended too. In the span of about 6 weeks, she apparently cycled through 3 relationships, each lasting just long enough to generate some Instagram content before imploding. A mutual friend told me she'd become borderline obsessive about tracking our band's success. Every article, every playlist edition, every social media milestone, she was watching all of it, commenting occasionally, always something vaguely positive but tinged with an undertone of regret. The friend also mentioned that my ex's mother had stopped posting supportive comments on her daughter's relationship photos. Apparently, even she had gotten tired of the rotating cast of perfect boyfriends. I should feel vindicated by all this. The petty part of me does. The part that remembers every eye roll, every dismissive comment, every time she made me feel small for caring about something that wasn't on her spreadsheet. But mostly I just feel a kind of distant sadness. She had this incredibly rigid vision of what life was supposed to look like by 30. When reality didn't conform, she tried to reshape everyone around her to fit. When I refused to be reshaped, I became the problem. And now she's watching the problem succeed while her careful plans fall apart. I don't think she ever really loved me. I think she loved what I could become if I just followed her script, the stable job that could grow into management, the townhouse that could become a suburban house, the boyfriend who could become a husband on schedule. When I chose a van full of musical equipment over her timeline, I stopped being useful. The thing I've realized, though, her opinion of me was never actually about me. It was about her fears, her insecurities, her need for control. I spent 2 years contorting myself to fit her vision because I thought that's what relationships required. It took her calling my passion pathetic for me to finally wake up. So where am I now? I'm crashing in our guitarist's spare room, sleeping on a mattress we bought from a guy on Craigslist, writing songs for what will be our first real album. We practice 5 or 6 days a week. We're in talks with booking agents about headlining our own shows next spring. Smaller venues, 300 to 500 capacity, but our own crowds. Our own names on the marquee. I eat too much delivery food. My sleep schedule is wrecked. I own approximately 4 shirts and 2 pairs of jeans. My bank account is the healthiest it's ever been, but my apartment situation is the most chaotic. I've never been happier in my entire life. Last week I was at a coffee shop working on lyrics, and 2 college-aged kids approached me, asked if I was the bassist from our band. I said yes, still not quite believing anyone would recognize me. They asked for a photo. I took a photo with strangers who knew who I was because of music I helped create. That's never happened before. I'm still processing it. My ex once asked me when I was going to stop playing dress-up and become an adult. Here's my answer. I'm not playing dress-up. This is who I am. It took 29 years and a condescending ultimatum for me to stop apologizing for it. To anyone reading this who has something they love, something they've been told to give up because it's impractical or embarrassing or not part of someone else's plan, don't give it up. I'm not promising you'll succeed. I might still fail. The album could flop. The label could drop us. I could be back to fixing printers in 2 years. But I took the shot. I got on that stage in front of 5,000 people, and I played music I helped write, and I watched strangers sing my words back to me. That happened. No matter what comes next, nobody can take that away. Sometimes chasing a dead dream is how you find out it was never dead at all. Anyway, how about rehearsal in an hour? Thanks for following along.